everyone, and welcome to the 58th episode of the Thicc Bois podcast. At some point, we're just going to have to stop saying what the episode number is.
You think so?
Just look in the title.
Like, you guys can read.
So, voila. There you go.
Voila, yeah, ta-da. Yeah, we're coming up on, actually, when this releases, I believe it will be Valentine's Day.
It will, yep.
So I hope everybody has found a Valentine and has gotten their flowers and their gift cards and their all that good stuff. And they get a little hanky-panky tonight. This is, that's when the corporation said it's supposed to happen.
The corpos.
Corpos. Do you remember getting Valentines as a kid?
Yes, and actually it's funny that you bring it up because I had to go to Walmart the other day with Autumn to get her Valentines.
What is the deal with that?
You know, I don't know.
What purpose does it serve? They're just like little cardboard like tabs.
Yeah, I mean, and wasn't it like some kids like give candy too? Wasn't that a thing that happened? For some reason I remember getting candy. Maybe.
I don't understand what the express purpose of the whole thing is, because I got to thinking about it the other day. From what I remember, you'd go out like the weekend before, and you'd buy Valentines, which are like a box with like a bunch of little cardboard tabs in it that says like "Be my Valentine" from, and you would fill out all your classmates' names on them, and you'd hand them out, and they'd give you one, and then you just have a big collection of cardboard tabs at the end of the day.
I don't know. I guess it's just something fun for the kids to do.
I mean, I guess it's fun for the kids, but it's like, maybe it's supposed to encourage like socializing with one another.
Yeah, probably. I mean, at that age, that is the most important aspect of school is the socialization of the children.
Kids are naturally very social.
Right.
Kids have no inhibitions with going up to some random person and being like, "Hey, do you want to go play catch?"
I mean, yeah, some kids, like my daughter's that way. Autumn's definitely like she has no problem with like talking to people. Yeah. That's not an issue with her. But there are kids in her class that are very like they're
reserved.
Shy. Yeah. They're very reserved, which I think helps. It probably helps those kids. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think it's just with other kids, or is it
probably just personal traits?
Yeah,
very introverted kids.
I think socialization. Excuse me. I think socialization is supremely important because you have to be able to. I think it's important for a kid to be exposed to like, a good socialization with like a new person.
Right.
And like kind of understand how to meet someone, how to, bring up a conversation with someone. Right. Even if it's like, kid level stuff like, hey, do you like dinosaurs?
Yeah.
But like also at the same time, you might learn that some people aren't going to give that back to you.
Right.
Like
Correct.
You might walk up to them and be like, do you like dinosaurs? And they're going to be like, you ugly.
Right. And like the older, it's funny because like the older I get, I still struggle with that. Like I'm like, I don't know this person. What the fuck am I supposed to talk with this person
like meeting new people.
Yeah, I hate meeting new people.
Oh no, no, I don't want to meet anyone new. I've met enough people. That's how I feel about like, God, if I ever had to get back in the dating scene, I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Number one, I've put a lot of time and effort into this current one.
Right.
And money.
Right. So, I've invested a lot in this.
I've got a lot invested in this. So if something were to ever go wrong with this, like as far as like what I do, honestly, I would probably just go to work and then go do whatever I wanted to.
Right.
But I'm not getting back into dating.
No,
that's not happening.
Well, especially if something was to happen and, I had to enter back into like the dating scene, I just wouldn't.
Well, also, I mean, like you have to go meet someone new, right? Because all the people that you know are people that, have been in your social circle your entire life.
Right.
And one of two things has happened already. Either they're already with someone else, like a long-term relationship,
Right.
or you don't want to be with that person because you know who they are.
Right. Damaged goods.
Yeah, so the next thing is you have to go and find a new person and be like,
Right.
all right,
Yeah. Oh.
yeah, download your 32 years of bullshit onto me. Let's
Right.
have it. Let's find out if we're compatible here.
Right. And the older I get, just like the less empathy I have. Like, I'm just gonna save everybody the trouble and just not enter back into the dating scene.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I know that there's people our age who are single, but I think the difference between, like, you and I, if something happened with our relationships and we had to go back in the dating scene, is that number one, you have a kid now, so that's
Right.
another like thing. But also, like, I went through the shebang. I got engaged, I got married, bought a house, blah blah blah, all
Right.
that stuff. So it's not like I would be going into the dating pool like fresh and clean.
Right.
Like, I've got baggage.
Right.
I've got all this stuff I'm bringing with me.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody who's already single and hasn't done that,
Right.
it's probably easier for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the craziest thing to me, especially like after, us having Autumn, is that there's the amount of people that will, they get a divorce and then it's like they're very willy-nilly about who they let into their kids' lives.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I see that a lot.
Like, you don't know who the fuck this person is.
You have no clue who this person is.
And it's like, hey, meet your new stepmom. And it's like, it's been like the first time you've ever met this fucking person.
Yeah.
And like, that's hard on the fucking kid.
Yeah,
Like-
it is, especially if you have a high turnover rate.
Oh, right. There's a high churn rate
Yeah,
here.
because I can imagine as a kid, like, eventually, like, after the first two, you're gonna be like, okay, this doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Like, you're gonna be gone, whenever
Right.
the next one comes along. So I'm not even gonna bother getting to know you, or
Right.
I'm not even gonna learn your name. Like, who are you?
Right. Yeah, and
But as a single parent, I see the need to fill that role,
right.
for your kid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand that, but at the same time, it's like if I was to become, a parent that, would be like not a single parent because the other parent's still involved in the kid's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So it'd be like one of those deals. It'd be like, well, I'm just going to put more time and effort into my relationship with my kid.
Yeah.
As opposed to like somebody I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I
could see that. So, yeah, especially if you have, because there's people who have divorced with kids and have like a good amicable split and
Right.
stuff. I think that's very rarely the case, but it
right.
does
Usually
happen.
there's a lot of hatred involved.
A lot of vitriol,
Yeah.
just fucking
just venom.
seeping. Yeah, I mean, I I'm under no illusion that what we experience, me and you, with our parents and their marriage and everything is not the same thing that everyone else experienced and what they went through. But I don't have a kid, so I can't say. But I do understand, like, especially like coming from the viewpoint of like a mother, like a single mother, especially if you got heaven forbid you have multiple kids, but you need probably a second income,
Right.
and you need somebody who can teach the things that you can't teach.
Right.
Right? Like if you're a single mom with a young boy,
there's certain things.
Yeah.
There's certain knowledge that you cannot impart.
Right. There's always going to be that boundary where you can't
Right.
connect because it's just two different lives.
Right.
Never mind the fact that you're like a 32-year-old woman and he's like a 5-year-old kid.
Right.
But just the fact that you are the opposite genders
Right.
is a big thing. So your options are to go find some dude who, probably came from his own marriage.
Right.
And so he's still got to worry about his kid.
Right.
And so you have to find somebody who's willing to take all that on.
Right.
And that's probably really fucking hard.
Right. Because I wouldn't be.
Because it wouldn't be me.
I said, the older I get, the less empathy I have.
Yeah.
So it'd be one of those deals. It'd be like, I can't believe my ex. Be like, I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there because I don't give a shit.
Don't care.
I don't fucking care.
He's your ex. That should be it.
Yep.
Yeah, good old Valentine's Day. I remember like in... God, what grade was it? It was... it had to have been 5th grade. Yeah, okay, it was 5th grade. There was a kid in my class. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to get there eventually, but I got to do a little setup. There was a teacher in 5th grade who all the young boys thought was very pretty. Were very attracted to her.
If I say the name, will you bleep it out?
Yeah.
Miss.
No.
Okay.
It was Miss.
Who's Miss?
Quit saying her name. That's so much I
sorry.
gotta bleep out.
Just bleep out that whole part. I'm trying to think of who that person is. Is this at our elementary school that we went to?
She had dark hair. She might have already been. You might have already or maybe she came in after you had moved up to the next school. But another thing too is like if anybody listening has like a young boy, and I mean young like 5th grade boy,
No.
he's already attracted to girls.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know why. He knows something's going on there. So all the young boys really liked this one teacher, and we had this one kid. He said, "I'm going to give her a Valentine." He was like, "But I'm going to tell her I want to kiss her on the butt."
As one does. Everybody's like, good idea.
We did. We were like, dude, yeah, do it. And I remember watching him go up and give it to her. And of course, all the kids were giving the teacher one and everything. And so he gave it to her. He turned around and looked at us. He was like, give a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later in class, I guess she was going through and she was reading them.
Yeah.
And she called that boy up to her desk.
Everybody's like,
And I was like, dang, she's going to let him kiss her butt. Right here in class. But no, she gave him a stern talking to. She gave him a real good finger wagging in the face. And he ended up getting in like a lot of trouble at home. Really? Yeah. Like he got grounded for like the remainder of the school year.
Yeah, well.
So hard lesson learned.
Hard lesson learned.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, God. I couldn't imagine, like, as a dad getting that phone call. I'd be like, hey, what?
Especially if he wrote something that he, like, maybe heard but didn't quite understand what it meant. Yeah. If he had wrote something on there like, I want to eat your ass.
Yeah. Like, I can get...
Yay.
Mamma mia.
Yeah, if I was the dad and I got that phone call, there's no way I could not laugh.
Right.
Like, it's absolutely hilarious.
But if he like wrote on there, I want to kiss your butt.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh God.
That's something that I'm worried about. Like, when I have my young one, whenever that may be, is when something funny happens in a serious situation, I can't not laugh.
Yeah, I struggle with that too.
So like if my kid says something they're really not supposed to say, but it's fucking funny,
right?
Like I can't let them see me laugh, right? Like I can't let them know that was funny.
Right. So the other night, it's funny that you bring that up because the other night, me and Autumn, she likes to do like rhyming words. So like you'll say a word and then she says like a rhyming word.
Yeah.
And we were like having fun or whatever. I was doing like tree and like just like normal like chair, like normal words.
Yeah.
And I was like, truck. And then she looks me square in the eye. She goes, fuck.
You're expecting like duck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, sweetie, we can't say that. We can't say that word. That's a bad word.
Did she question why it was a bad word?
Well, she was like, well, first of all, I was like, you cannot say that. I was like, that's a bad word.
Is that her first run-in with that word?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm certain that like that, and it kind of, well, she looked at me and she's like, I'm sorry, Dede, I didn't mean to say that. And I was
like, I know you didn't. You're just trying to
right. She's just trying to like rhyme words. Yeah. She'll like make up a fucking word. It doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised she hasn't said it before because I've dropped the F-bomb around here. So
did she catch it when she said it?
No, she looked at me square in the eye and said, "Fuck." Yeah. And I was like there was no like indication that she's like, I'm about to say a word that I shouldn't say.
That's so funny.
Like I remember like as a kid like hearing we had an older cousin who said the word fag.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a fun word.
Yeah. So, it's got a nice bounce to it.
Yeah. So, like, I remember, like, being in the house and something went wrong. I was like, what a fag. And Mom went, where did you hear that?
Yeah.
Who told you how to say that? And of course, I'm just like, what? This is like, it's a word.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
Calm the fuck down. I got in trouble for saying darn one time. When I was I had to have been real young because we were still living in the log cabin. And you know that back door that goes onto the back porch? It was like really sticky. It was kind of hard to get it to close. Yeah. And I was like, I can't close the darn door.
Yeah.
And Mom went off her fucking rocker on me. And I was like, whoa, like, what can I not say? Like, what can I say? Where's the limit here?
Right. It's like we were talking about the other night when she got mad at you for saying "Geez Louise."
Yeah. Because I heard it from Star Fox.
Yeah, because you heard it from Star Fox. Old Star Fox 64, you heard it from a 3D animatronic bird.
Yeah.
flying a spacecraft.
Yeah, shooting lasers at a monkey man. We were also talking about that because we were talking about in Gears of War. You know, in order to reload your gun in that game, you have to try and time it right. And if you fuck up the timing, your character will be like, "Oh shit, I fucked up the reload." But so he'll say some line like that. And I was upstairs playing it. Mom was downstairs. Excuse me. And she called up to me. She was like, "Gary, what game are you playing?" And I was like, Gears of War. And she goes, "Is that a nice game?"
Like, does it sound like a nice game?
I was like, yeah, you know. And I messed up the reload, and my character was like, "God fucking damn it!" I don't know if she had walked away by that point because nobody said anything for a second. I was like, okay, I guess she didn't hear that.
Look at her, like the name is Gears of War.
Yeah. I chainsawed a man in half.
I split him open like a cantaloupe.
Those games were so good, man. Like the first three. Yeah. Did you ever play 4 or 5?
No, I never played 4 or 5. I made it all the way through 3. 2 was my favorite.
2 is 2's really good, but it's a toss-up between 2 and 3. Gears of War was really good about, like, linear levels and set pieces.
Right. And just the ambiance. Just mwah.
Right, because, like, you know, one of the biggest complaints that people had about 4 and 5 when those came out, because those came out for the Xbox One, so that was, like, the newest generation. I think, like, the time between Gears 3 and Gears 4 was something like 13 years. Yeah. So there's a huge gap there.
Right.
There was a lot of people who were complaining that Gears of War 4 was too colorful.
Right.
Which seems like an odd thing to complain about because when you think about, like, you know, Gears 1 through 3, it was basically like brown and gray, the game.
Right. Right.
A lot of games back then were very dark and, like, washed out colors.
Right.
But it matched thematically.
Right.
Because those games are very doom and gloom and, you know, we're not having a happy time here.
Right.
You know?
It's interesting that you say that, too, because there were, like you said, there was a lot of games that were like that, like Fallout 3.
Yeah, Fallout 3
New Vegas.
specifically. Yeah, New Vegas. Everything's brown.
Everything's brown.
Or gray.
Or gray.
No in between.
Gears of War was like that. There was a bunch of...
The first Gears of War is almost black and white.
Yeah.
Like, it's that washed out.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, they just save more space creating the game when you're not having to do as much color contrast.
I don't know, because it would seem to me like the biggest thing that would would be a draw on the engine would be, like, models. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess that would make sense.
textures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yep.
Even that one.
Very gray.
Very gray. There's like one level where you can see the sky for a second and it's kind of blue.
Right.
But it's mostly gray.
Yeah. Really the only games that weren't like that were big blockbusters were the Halo games. They had a bunch of color in it.
Yeah. But even then, like,
discounting ODST.
Yeah. But even, like, you look at 2 and 3, like Halo 2 and 3, it's still very washed out. Like, there's not a lot of, like...
There's not a lot of, like, very bright colors.
Yeah.
There's a lot of colors.
You might have things like, like the Needler that shoots, like, the pink crystals, like, and it stands out.
Right.
But it's not everything all at once.
Right.
So maybe they just reserved, like, the bright colors for certain areas to, kind of direct you, like, you need to go over here because this, this area over here is a little bit more brightly colored. It might catch your eye when you come out of this room or whatever. It's like, so a lot of games nowadays, it's like everything is far too detailed. Right. Or everything is far too colorful. Like, I'm out here, this all looks the same.
Right.
It looks the same way it used to look the same on the Xbox 360, but now it's hurting my eyes. I do want to bitch about Halo for just a couple minutes,
okay,
and then we'll move on to the Chinese spy balloon because I do want to talk about that. There's been Halo Infinite has had a rough time.
Yeah.
As far as like player retention, and yada yada yada. When that multiplayer beta released, I think they had something like 80,000 concurrent players.
Yeah.
Which is still about 220,000 less than Halo 3 had when it came out. Right. So that player base was already dwindling. And this is just from the Steam charts. So multiplayer beta releases 80,000 some odd concurrent players. As of today, 3,000. So it's taking quite a hit.
Nosedive.
Yeah. But they're very slowly getting out, updates and content because that's what people want. Like, we need stuff to keep me invested, keep me interested.
Right.
Like, I don't care about the shit in the store. What can I do in the game?
Right.
Well, I think the biggest issue was like they made Halo all of this whole brand new engine, the Slip Space engine, which was just a modded version of the Blam engine, which was a modded version of the one before it. So it's just like slapping shit onto an engine and calling it something new. It's the same exact shit that Bethesda's been doing. So the problem is that 343, who of course is the developer, Microsoft being the producer, they don't have like in-house employees working on this thing. They have contract workers. And they come in for 6-7 months and move to a new project.
Right.
So if you contrast that with like Bungie, who everyone was in-house.
Right.
Everybody was very deeply connected to this project that they were working on. That's why
that explains a lot.
It does explain a lot.
It explains a lot.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that they had that many contract workers on Halo Infinite. It's something like 14 different companies contracting out employees to work on this game.
Do you know how hard it is to like go in and work like on any type of file?
Yeah.
That's not yours, or you
in a program that you've probably never touched.
Exactly.
By the time your 6 months is up, you probably only just learned how to work this fucking thing. So I think that
it sounds to me like they built a house of cards.
Yes. So I don't know if that was a 343 call in order to have it done mainly by contract workers rotating in and out.
It sounds to me like that was a suits call.
Yeah,
there was some fucking suit somewhere.
Yeah, that's definitely
that said, the best way to go about this is we're going to save a whole bunch of money
by contracting.
contracting.
And the only reason that they would do contracting is so that they don't have to pay things like 401k and health benefits and this, that, and the other. They don't have to pay overtime.
Yep.
He's getting these people crush their souls and move on to the next one. Yep. And when you know it, it was horrible for everyone.
Yeah, look at that.
So the solution is they still have people who are working on Halo Infinite. Because they wanted Halo Infinite, they said, to be the Halo for the next 10 years. And it can't. The way it is right now, it can't be. No. It simply cannot be. So they are going to continue developing stuff for Halo Infinite, like multiplayer modes, DLCs, things like that. But they're also, when the next Halo comes along, whenever that one may be, it's definitely not going to be 10 years. Because they're going to have to have to get back in our good graces, the fans' good graces with a new game pretty soon. It's going to be on Unreal Engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The new one, the 5.1, with like all the like you've seen like tech demos of that engine. And a lot of people were really concerned, like, oh, it's not going to feel like Halo, it's not going to feel like Halo. And it's like, well, the last 3 games haven't felt like Halo either. So I'm not really that concerned about it. To be
honest with you, the best thing that they could do at this point would to be able to offer the IP back to Bungie.
They wouldn't take it. They wouldn't take it.
But Microsoft not be the producer, just be like, we'll give it back to you. We'll sell it back to you, of course. But obviously, like, what is Bungie even doing now?
They're working on Destiny. Destiny is their whole big thing. Yeah. And it's, from what I understand, it's pretty popular, pretty successful.
Yeah. Oh, well,
I don't play it.
Yeah.
I just, I don't really care for like looter shooters.
Yeah.
It's not that big. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I remember when like the first Destiny came out, like I played it a little bit and I was like, yeah, it certainly feels a lot more like Halo than the current Halos do. Yeah.
Well, because the current Halos are supposed to be Call of Duty.
Right.
So I think, I can kind of see where people's concerns are with them moving to a whole brand new engine. Because it kind of seems like you're taking all the guts out of this thing and replacing it with something else. But maybe that's what it needs.
Right.
Because...
Well, I mean, just put it back on rails. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Put it back on fucking rails and just model it after the first one.
Yeah.
Voila.
Make cool set pieces.
Right.
Don't have the cool stuff happen in cutscenes. Have it happen to me.
Right.
Like while I'm playing, so I can experience it. I think it's a good thing to move to Unreal Engine, mainly because that's what everyone is using.
Right.
Everybody is using Unreal Engine. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to find a dev studio that isn't using it.
Right.
So that most of these people, even if they are contract workers, are going to have a lot of familiarity with this engine. They're not going to have to come in on a 6-month contract, spend 5 months just trying to learn how to work this fucking archaic bullshit that you have.
Right.
And then basically accomplish nothing and then move on to the next one.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now that you say it, makes a lot of sense why the game's so shitty. Mm-hmm. Like, I played the multiplayer beta, like on Steam when it came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's okay. I mean, it's not.
It's definitely a lot better right now.
Right.
Because like I said before, like I've been playing a lot of it right now. Where it's at now, it's still not where it should be, but it is a lot more enjoyable.
But like the Master Chief Collection, like I played.
When that launched.
Yeah, but like when the beta came out, like they were still slowly rolling out like some of the Master Chief Collection stuff.
Yeah.
For like 3, Reach, ODST, and like. I still because I went back, I was like, maybe is it the nostalgia of those games?
Those games are still really good.
Those games are still really fucking good. Like even Reach, which I was not really a fan of. Like even the multiplayer there, I was like, oh, it's still fucking fantastic. It's still amazing.
Even the first Halo that came out in 2001,
right,
is a great game still to this day. 22 years later, it's still great. Because, of course it looks like it came out 22 years ago. There's no getting around that. But just like the game feel and the play and everything, like everything's so well balanced and stuff. It's just good.
Yeah.
It just
is a good game.
So that's enough about Halo. Everybody's like, oh, thank God. No more video game talk. But let's talk about the Chinese spy balloon. Apparently they shot down a second one.
Oh.
Over Alaska.
Oh, yeah, I did see that, yes.
Well, I don't know. They haven't
identified whether or not that's what that is.
They haven't confirmed that that's what it was, but they said it was a high-altitude object over Alaska.
Yeah.
So this spy balloon thing is really interesting to me because people were able to see it
right
with their eyeballs standing on the ground. So what was the did they think it was going to fly over the entire continental US and no one was going to see it?
The only thing I can come up with is the only thing that makes sense is them being like, let's see if they fucking shoot it down. Like that's the only fucking thing that makes sense. Like if
of course we would. Like
if they're saying that it's a spy balloon,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And like obviously it looks like it has some type of equipment on there that's like
solar panels or something,
like taking pictures or whatever, and probably sending it back. Like if
look, whatever data it got, they've already received it.
Right.
Like they weren't going to like gather the thing back.
Well, also too, it's like if you let it go across the entire continental United States as it's flying over like Montana and Wyoming, which host a lot of our nuclear missiles.
Yeah.
Like those, those are kind of important, and then it makes it all the way out past Myrtle Beach, and then you shoot it down.
Yeah.
Like, what's the fucking point?
Damage is already done.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, like just fuck it. It doesn't matter anymore.
They kept saying that they didn't want to shoot it down because it might like crash down onto people, and I kind of get that.
No.
But didn't you spot this thing when it was like in Montana? Where there's like
not a whole lot of people there.
Like that, you would have been better served to shoot it down out there.
Right.
I mean, like everybody's got like ranches and stuff. Like if it craters some dude's cornfield, just pay him off.
Right.
And make it right with that guy. But why would you let it go all the way across the country until it got over to the Atlantic Ocean and then shoot it down? I don't get that.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. I don't understand. And the interesting...
Maybe that's why they shot the one down in Alaska. They're like, okay, let's go ahead and nip this one in the bud, because apparently people don't like it when we just let the spy balloon go over everyone. Yeah, I didn't know what... I don't...
Well, not only that, but you shoot it down over the Atlantic into, like, deep water where you can't recover any of that stuff. So you don't even know what was even on it.
Yeah. It definitely was, like I said, it definitely... was transmitting whatever it was gathering, like probably live, real time.
Right.
But they had that technology.
Right.
I don't know what China was thinking, because it doesn't seem like a balloon could do anything that like a satellite already couldn't.
Right.
And they have satellites.
Right.
Right, so there's nobody. We can't stop anybody from putting a satellite up in space. Nobody owns space.
Yeah, it's like I said. It's like the only thing that makes sense is them being like, "Well, fuck it. Let's see if they do anything about it." Like that's the only thing that makes sense, because, like, all it is to me, and this could be totally wrong, but to me, it just seems like a power play.
It does.
That's what it is.
They're just showing their dick.
Yeah, like fuck you, do something about it.
Yeah,
like that's what it seems like. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Well, China also. Xi Jinping or whatever, he came out and was like, China, we have the right to retaliate because you shot our balloon down. So maybe they were goading the U.S. into doing it so that they could take some kind of action against us.
Like, well, no, you can't be in our airspace. Like, it's pretty... Like, we've told everybody you can't do that. Yeah. So you know better.
China was like, we did nothing wrong. We just flew a spy balloon over your whole country.
Oopsie daisy.
We just let it go, and the wind just happened to take it all the way across your country.
And that's not... And I'm also not saying, like, for the people... If there's anybody that is in China listening to this, which I very highly doubt that they would allow this in your country.
If you are, ni hao.
But, that's not saying like we don't actively spy on other countries, because we do.
Oh, we absolutely do.
Absolutely.
We absolutely do.
Absolutely. But coming from somebody who's sitting in America, and I don't want other countries to be able to see our nuclear missile bases. Yeah. Is like, like, you can't be in our airspace.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Yeah.
It was just kind of rude.
Right.
like on like the global political scale, it was just like a rude, uncouth thing to do.
Right. I mean, it's essentially what the equivalent to me is China's government taking their cock out and slapping the U.S. government in the face. Yeah. And like, what you going to do about it?
That's exactly
what
it is.
What are you going to do about it? Because it'd be different, like, It's a fucking balloon.
Yeah. It's a big balloon.
It's a big balloon.
With like a satellite dangling off the bottom of it.
Right.
Yeah,
just very willy-nilly.
Yeah. It'd be one thing if it was like some kind of crazy like fighter plane that they were flying over the United States, like, I don't know, 10,000 feet elevation.
Right. Well, also, too, there's a corridor that runs, like, up. I don't know if I've ever talked about this before. There's a corridor that runs, like, up Colorado, like, through Wyoming and Montana, where we have a lot of those bases at.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty rural area out there. There's not a whole lot of people that live out there.
Yeah.
Well, there's, like, regional cell phone providers that go up and down this corridor, and they have, like, the cell phone towers, like, out there, right? Well, a lot of their transmitters and stuff like that are it costs a lot of money to get that stuff, right? So who do you think offered them the equipment on the cheap?
You did talk about that, right? It was like Huawei that was like
Huawei.
Yeah, Huawei or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a huge problem.
Yeah. That's a massive
That's
fucking
an
problem.
enormous issue.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever looked at like a light map of the United States, like at nighttime.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing going on over there.
Yeah.
Like once you get above Denver, there's nothing.
Like 80% of the country, like all that right there in the middle, there's like no lights on.
Right.
Anywhere. Anything that's in like the middle of the country is usually localized around the Mississippi.
Right.
Right, because that's where the water is.
Right.
And people always settle near water. So it was like, okay, if you wanted to hide anything, you'd hide it over here in this big giant black spot.
Right.
So if they're spy, they're looking down their spy balloon.
Right.
Right. And they're like, oh, okay, we're in this rural area. There's nothing around except this like line of cell phone towers.
Right.
There's got to be something here.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, how do you hide that?
I mean, there's really...
Be like one of those fake tree things. You ever seen those?
Right.
Where it's like very clearly a fake tree. They painted it brown and green.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we're all doomed.
Yeah.
I think we're doomed, and then also, too, we got Germany that's getting ready to go to war with Russia.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the nuclear fire's coming, everybody.
That's fun.
That's on the way.
I don't know if we talked about that either, but like Russia essentially said, like if you use depleted uranium rounds in your tanks, we're going to take that as you're using nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons, yeah.
So then we will use nuclear bombs.
Yeah. It seems like everybody's gearing up.
Yep.
Everybody's getting ready to just fucking go nuts.
Yeah, and you know what they'll do up there in government? They'll go, my national security.
Yeah.
And then, they'll doom us all.
They'll write some act.
Right.
Where they can, like,
the Ding Dong Wiener Act. They'll name it something fucking stupid. That way they'll get everybody's, like, approval on it.
Yeah.
They'll be like the Puppies and Kitties Act.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that because, when they started doing all those, like, acts or whatever, like, right after 9/11, they were really playing into... like the patriotism,
right? The Patriot Act,
that everybody was feeling around that time because we were directly attacked.
We're really just gonna,
So like people nowadays, largely on the whole, are not very patriotic. You know what I mean? In this country,
right?
And so you can't really go that route anymore,
right?
So now you have to appeal to like the more like social. Like liberalist side of society. So they'll name the act something like, Trans Rights Act.
Right.
When really what's in there is it gives them the ability to kick down your door and steal your phone and shoot a nuclear missile up somebody's ass.
Right. And they'll be like, but we did it for trans
we
rights.
We did it for all the trans people.
Right, and there's nothing in that act. There's nothing fucking in there.
It's not even mentioned.
Yeah. You want to know why? Because they don't fucking care about you.
No, they don't care.
All right, we're getting off on that
again. But so I got to thinking about it too. It was like, I would never want to be president because
fuck no.
It seems like every president has like this one big thing that they have to deal with that's going to be like, kind of going to mar their entire presidency. Like with Donald Trump, of course, it was COVID.
Right.
And, George Bush, it was 9/11.
Right.
But he did that, so Everybody's got their thing, right? So it's always like, you might get like 2-3 years into your presidency before, like, oh, there's this big fucking problem.
It's coming. Here it comes.
And then everybody's like, okay, how are you going to deal with this thing?
Right.
And you're
never going to appease everyone.
You'll never make everyone happy.
Nope.
Like, all your detractors, no matter what you do, are going to find a way to spin it and make you look bad.
Right. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do about that.
Right.
I would never want to be president, ever. Never in a million fucking years.
Nope.
And Joe Biden he has got to be like 1 foot in the coffin by now.
You seen the way he walks?
Yeah.
He shuffles like an old man.
Because he's like 80-something.
Right. He shuffles like a dementia patient.
And he can't speak. That's a problem, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the president needs to be mentally stable.
Well, just like some of the shit that he says, I'm like,
yeah.
And he slurs his words real bad, too.
Really badly. It's gotten a lot worse.
It's like, it's not at the point now where it's not funny anymore.
It's just
like
concerning.
In people, it's very concerning. Like I would be very concerned if that was my grandfather up there.
Yeah.
I'd be like, he does not need to be up there. Like this man needs to be spending his twilight years not doing this.
Yeah, like in like hospice. Like
right.
Somebody needs to be taking care of him. He doesn't need to be running
there's
the country.
There's no telling what cocktail drugs they got him on.
Yeah. Some big giant like novelty sized IV bag that they
just full of speed.
You see where after the State of the Union address where his wife kissed Kamala Harris's husband on the lips. And everybody standing around was like, what the heck was that? That was weird. So I guess...
I'm of the opinion they're all up there fucking each other anyway. Yeah. It's just like this big, like, what's the movie?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut party all the time.
Big fuck, like Requiem for a Dream fuck party. Ugh. S to S.
I remember the first time I ever watched. Like I wasn't even like watching that movie. I was on the ship and we were on deployment.
Yeah.
And they were playing it like over because we have movies playing all the time because we didn't have TV, so there's like constant movies. Like we had this huge, massive like thousands of movies, and so like our division was the people that were in charge of putting the movies on.
Yeah.
And so like somebody was playing that movie.
Was Requiem for a Dream?
Yeah. And I was like, I walked down into berthing, which is like where like we have like a big TV down in berthing, like the common area there, area.
Yeah.
So. And then, like, I walk in and, like, the lights are off because most of the time people are sleeping down there. Yeah. So, like, keep the lights off. I walk in and, like, all I see is, like, these two girls, like, slamming their butts against each other. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on?
That scene is so... It just makes you feel so gross. Ugh. Right? Because
and they're just, like, throwing money on them.
Yeah, because it's these two girls... And they're on their hands and knees, and they've got a double-ended marital aid up their butts. And it's like all these old dudes in suits, like, laughing and throwing money at them.
I just remember, I was like, what the fuck?
It was a strange thing to walk in on. Yeah. And that scene comes out almost out of nowhere.
Yes. Well, it's like, I think, like, after that, there's some other, like, pretty horrific scenes. Like, but that one... was spectacularly horrific.
It is. It's a very odd thing to be in like a movie that you'd go see in a theater. Yeah. It's like
very very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and they push the limit of what they can show.
They certainly did. They certainly did.
That'd be a movie that Pee Wee Herman goes to see.
Pee Wee Herman goes.
Pee Wee Herman goes to the movies. Oh man! So did he go see? Did he go to an X-rated movie theater?
I think so.
Well, what is everyone else doing in there?
I don't know.
They're jerking their Pee-wees.
Yeah. That's it's so odd. Like that whole, like prior to like, I guess the internet.
Yeah.
Like, it's so odd to me that there would be a movie theater.
A place you had to go to see the porn.
Right, where you would go sit with other like-minded individuals and watch spicy movies.
I don't understand. Okay, look, if he did that nowadays, people wouldn't care. Because I think that everybody's sensibility is people aren't as sensitive towards that kind of thing.
Right.
Now that everybody's a bit more crass and a bit more jaded.
Right.
But back then, I mean, as far as anybody knew, he was just Pee Wee Herman. He was just like, he was the little like moon-faced guy that, was like, ah!
I wonder if he was doing it and that's how they called him.
He's sitting in the back of the movie theater like, You ever seen that drug PSA with him?
No.
You never seen that?
No.
It's so fucking funny. It was. I think it was around the same time that they were having all those celebrities, like the Michael Jordan one, where he's like, "Stop it, get out." But the Pee Wee Herman one is funny because it just opens up with him sitting there like in this dark room, and it's Pee Wee Herman. He's not supposed to be in that kind of a space,
right?
And he's like, he holds up this little bag. He goes, "This is crack." It's so funny. But yeah,
what an odd time to be alive.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever really, I'm sure Pee Wee Herman was on when I was a kid, but I don't remember really watching it.
He had like a TV show too, right? See, the only thing I remember about Pee Wee Herman was
was it movies?
Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, like with the bicycle.
Okay.
And I only remember specific parts until I watched it recently with like Autumn, which is still an odd movie.
Yeah.
But I remember like the dinosaur part. Like that's really like the only part of that movie I kind of ever remember is like they were like this big dinosaur.
I don't remember like hardly any of that. And I think Pee Wee's Playhouse was the TV show, right?
Yes, Pee Wee's Playhouse was the TV show.
But I can't pin down like when all that was on or when all that was airing.
I think that was like the mid to late 80s. Is when that
so
came
a little
out.
bit before
so
my
it
time.
was those movies were a little bit older by the time like we were consuming that media.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still even now. Like I watch the movies, I'm like, this is like a fever dream. Like, what is this?
Well, everybody was on cocaine when they were making everything back then. Everything was very weird.
Well, it's like we were talking about last time. Like I've been listening to like a lot of like 80s music and like so there's like a lot of like Tears for Fears and Hall & Oates and
Hall & Oates is so good.
Yeah, Men at Work. Just like all these
Men at Work.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that I Come From a Land Down Under?
I love that song. like Toto and like all these bands and everything.
I like the way music was mixed back then.
Yes.
Everything had such a cool sound.
And I told Allison, I was like, because I'd been listening to like this kind of music for a couple months now. Like, you don't hear like there's no like slow jams. That's not something that got played back then.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not like the 90s were much more like there was like some slow type songs and stuff.
Nirvana had a lot of slow songs.
Right.
They were hugely popular. Yeah.
But that was not a thing in the 80s. Even like the rock thing. Like you had like Motley Crue, which we'll get to that here in just a second. Like Motley Crue and like Bon Jovi and stuff. Like even like the quote unquote slow songs were still like had a very fast pace to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's because everybody was on cocaine.
Everybody.
I was like, it makes sense now.
Yeah. Everything was very, high strung and fast paced because everyone was high strung and fast paced.
Everybody's bleeding out of their nose.
Yeah. I like to watch like live performances of bands from the 80s and just seeing them all up on stage. Those are the sweatiest fucking people you'll ever see in your entire life.
Their hearts are going.
They're so fucking sweaty.
Just redlining the whole time.
Yeah, so speaking of 80s bands, let's jump into our Super Cringe Thursday post. So, yes. I had every intention of posting that on Thursday, let me just say, but I am muted on Facebook currently because I made a comment in our Libertarian Waffle House Caucus page about Ruby Ridge. and I guess the algorithm didn't like that.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I'm muted for like 9 days or something like that.
Oh, well.
That always seems to happen right before like Valentine's Day. And sometimes Mario will be like, please don't get muted so that you can post something nice about me on Valentine's Day. I'm like, I'll do my best.
Like, let me tell you what's not going to happen.
So yeah, our Super Cringe Thursday post. We may have posted this one before, but we really wanted to talk about it.
Right.
It's the. What was the?
It's like the 2019. Like,
was it a show, like an award show?
Like it's like their return performance.
It was a return performance.
Yeah,
I was thinking it was for an award show or something.
Was it? Well, I know it had been a while since they had done a live show.
Clearly.
Very clearly. Vince Neil had not been on stage in quite some time.
Or treadmill.
Right.
Vince Neil,
or
of course,
on his feet.
Vince Neil is of course, he's the lead singer of Motley Crue. Even when Motley Crue was big, Vince Neil had a very unique singing style.
No,
he was very high pitched, and almost kind of nasally.
No,
and I don't think that you can sing like that forever.
No,
because that's going to be hard on all the very intricate. Intricacies that go on in your sinuses and things like that. So him as like a 55-year-old man who's, obese.
Who looks like a 55-year-old man. A 55-year-old American man.
Yeah. He's up on stage and he's trying to sing and he's trying to perform physically the way that he was back in the 80s. Right.
And he's got this greasy, stringy hair.
Yeah.
Just matted to his head.
And his gut. It's just
cheeseburger Bobby gut.
It's just poking out past his biker vest. At the beginning of the performance, it's like you can see him. You can almost see him start to panic. Because he starts. He starts to like run around on stage, but then very quickly stops doing it because he's like, "Oh no, I can't do this."
Yeah, he's very quickly getting out of breath.
I think his heart probably started pounding in his ears. He's like, "Oh, am I gonna have a heart attack on stage?" If you guys have listened to the past couple episodes, you know that I'm not particularly in the greatest of health, but also like I know my limits. Right. I know what I can and can't do.
You don't have like this. You're not. You're very self-aware.
Yeah, I understand that I have hypothyroidism and high blood pressure, so I'm not going to jump up on stage and start running around like I'm a creamy 20-year-old.
I won't ever forget when that came out. Because I think you sent it to me, and like immediately, as soon as he started singing, I just started crying, laughing. I like in between like me convulsing, laughing. I just heard him like.
It's funny too, because like later on in the song, he's like missing words because he's having to like gulp down air in order to continue singing. And he's got like all these backup singers, these women behind him, who are fit and in good shape and they're young, right. And they're singing the song still, and he's like doubled over, gasping for breath.
Oh God, it's one of the. I don't know if it's so much cringe as one of the funniest things. It's almost like somebody.
It's a secondhand embarrassment thing for me because I feel bad for Vince.
I guess I don't feel as bad because I've never really been like a huge Motley Crue fan. Like that might be sacrilegious to say.
I love their music, yeah.
But like I've never been a huge fan of theirs.
Yeah.
So I guess I can look at it like without looking at it through the lens of a fan.
Yeah.
So it's just super fucking funny to me.
He's coming into it raw.
It almost seems as if it was like a skit.
Yeah. It seems like an SNL skit.
Like, I don't think that even if you wanted to write a skit that funny, like, the fact that it was real life.
Yeah.
And, like, nobody was expecting it, like, made it, like, just that much better.
It's also really funny at the end, because at the end of that song, he's supposed to, like, scream for, like, this, like, long sustained, like, scream or whatever. And his voice cracks really badly. And when it happens, the camera is on Slash.
Yeah.
And Slash starts laughing.
Oh, it's so funny. And I think after that he actually lost a little bit of weight, because I think that was
a wake up call for him. He was like, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to.
Right. And I watched a couple. There's like one that they did last year, and he looked in a little bit better shape, and he was doing a little bit better job or whatever. He still didn't sound great.
Well, he's still 55.
Right, but
he
didn't sound like that.
Well, yeah.
He was able to like get all the words out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's if he can do some conditioning to get back in a little bit better shape, but he's never going to be. Nobody will ever be in their prime again. No. You're only ever in your prime once.
Right, but that's not even what he was in. Was not even like an okay 55-year-old.
No, he like woke up off the couch like 5 minutes before they went on stage.
Like he might as well just been like asleep on the couch, like with a half-eaten like Wendy's triple, just like sliding off his chest.
And they like raised the couch up through the stage, with like the dry ice behind him.
It's like covered in French fries.
He's got like one hanging out of his hair. I remember seeing Ozzy perform on TV. That was 10 years ago probably when this happened. And he's old then.
Yeah.
Ozzy's always been old.
Ozzy's always been old.
And there's this part I remember from whatever particular performance that this was. He walks away from the mic stand with the mic in his hand.
No.
Because prior to this, he was kind of using it to brace himself.
Right.
And I think he started like feeling it again. Like he's like, yeah, like I remember this feeling,
No.
And he walks away from the mic stand, and he kind of struts across the stage, and he's like singing to the crowd, and then he like turns around and looks how far away from the mic stand he got, and he like shuffles with his arms outreached back to the mic stand. And once he gets back to the mic stand, he doesn't leave it again.
It's such like, you imagine like being in the crowd, everybody's like, yeah, and everybody goes, oh,
Ozzy.
Yeah, this isn't fun anymore.
This is just sad. you can go home. Go home and lay down.
It's like, I'm looking at somebody's mortality right in front of my eyes.
Yeah, on display.
Yeah, on display.
This might as well be an execution. There was another event that Van Halen played at. And who's it? David Lee Roth?
Yes.
He was Chris was telling me about this. Apparently he would like bring his bow staff out on stage and do like a kata like on stage for everybody, and with his bow staff, like I guess as part of the
like when he was younger.
Yeah, like I guess as part of his performance.
Well, everybody was very much into karate back then.
Oh yeah, with like Karate Kid. Yeah. So he whatever this performance was many years down the road, he was trying to do it again, but I think he was using the mic stand.
No.
And he smashes himself in the face with it.
Oh no.
He goes to spin it around his head and like smashes himself like right across like the top lip nose area with it.
No, David.
And so he has to like go off stage. And then he comes back on, and he's got like all these bandages all over his face, and it's funny because he addresses the crowd, and he's like, guys, he was like, I fucked my face up a minute ago. Yeah. He was like, so we're gonna restart the song, and we're just gonna do it all over again.
He's got like 2 tampons stuck up his nose.
And then they do the song again, and he just stands in one spot.
It's funny too, cause I saw it was a commercial or something with. Speaking of watching, rock stars get older, I saw a commercial with like David Grohl in it, and he looks old too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is sad.
But we know that Dave Grohl can perform sitting down.
Yes, because he broke his leg.
Because he broke his leg and played a whole show sitting in a wheelchair.
Right. Like, I remember when that happened or whatever, of course I wasn't there or whatever, but I remember, like, reading the story and they were saying, like, I guess he fell off the stage, broke his leg, and they, like, were like, you need to go to the hospital. And he's like, no, just put it in an air cast. Yeah. He's like, cause these people paid money to come watch me perform.
See the show,
right?
Yeah.
There's something to be said for, like, that level of...
like dedication to
your fans.
Like I think that he's one of those ones that realize that he's only where he is because of the fans.
Right?
Because if there were no fans, there'd be no Foo Fighters.
Right.
Yeah. There was a rapper I remember seeing one time who he was at the very front of the stage and he was kind of hyping up the crowd or whatever, and he misstepped and he fell off the stage, and it was a very tall stage, 22 feet off the ground, something like that. So like a good way. And he fell, and he, like, bounced off one of the monitors and then crashed into, like, a lighting fixture and busted through it into the glass. And it fucked him up, like, really badly.
It was like a WWE. Like.
Yeah, they had to, like, put stitches in his back.
Oh, no.
And then he went back out on stage, and he finished
good for him.
Finished the show.
Yeah.
But he kind of stayed in one spot. Yeah. So, I mean, they probably gave him a bunch of Vicodin. He's like, I'm going to finish the show, but y'all got to give me something. Right. He just stand there like,
just drooling onto the mic.
There's just like some Fruity Loops beat going on behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals, too, where it's like, even if like I don't care for the person's music, like if they showed that amount of dedication to like the fans, yeah. Like I can appreciate that. I have a lot of respect for
that. Phil Anselmo breaking his neck,
and
then injecting heroin directly into it, and going back out on stage with a broke fucking neck and finishing the show.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe that was just a drug problem more than anything. More than a dedication to the fans.
Exactly. Being like, fuck, I broke my neck. I know it'll make it better. Yeah. Imagine, like, being the doctor, be like, you did what?
You did it, excuse me? He's like, yeah, just right into the carotid artery. It's kind of weird being at this age, where, the people that you saw on TV and you're seeing them get old,
right?
Like old,
yeah,
and pass away,
right?
It's a very strange thing because usually what happens first, at least in my experience, was people around your age start dropping off,
right?
Either due to accidents or some kind of illness or whatever, like. I remember being in high school. High school was the first time I experienced, like, a death of a peer,
right?
Like, close to me,
right.
And it was really weird. It was really, really weird
because I'm not going to see this person again.
Yeah, well, you're not with everything else going on in high school. You're not concerned about whether or not you're going to fucking live,
right?
You know what I mean? And it was it was just a freak thing that happened. She passed away in her sleep. I don't know all the details, but as far as I know, she was a healthy, normal girl, and she just didn't wake up one day.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the other one that fell off the truck.
Well, that happened. Did that happen in high school? I don't remember when that happened. But, that was an unfortunate accident with her. And then, the one that passed away in her sleep. So it was just and then it happened again. Kind of when we were out of high school. So it's, thankfully, I think the human condition is not to be concerned with mortality all the time.
Right. Because you wouldn't be able to function.
Yeah. But every so often something will happen and you're like, oh, like our time here is
finite.
Is very limited.
Right.
You're not going to be here forever. Yeah. And then you start seeing, like, people that you grew up watching on TV or you grew up, like, watching in movies, like, they die.
Right.
And, I'm not one of those people who, like, get extremely upset over a celebrity death. Like, I'm like, that sucks that they passed away because I liked their work. But, I'm not going to, like, call out from work to grieve them.
Exactly. It was like, I didn't know them.
Yeah, I don't know that person. But it is a weird thing to see.
Yeah, it's an odd thing to see, and it's odd too because like once you have kids, like we're celebrating Autumn's birthday, and like watching her, like you turn around and be like, wow, like she's 5, like holy shit, like I feel like I just brought her home from the hospital. Like where has all this fucking time gone?
It's just gone.
It's just gone.
Gone forever.
Yep, you're never gonna get it back.
I mean, there's gonna be a point too, like if you live long enough where everyone you knew
will be gone
and had a close relationship with is gone.
Right.
And then you don't recognize any of the celebrities on TV.
Oh God! Imagine being like 90 years old and there's no telling. There's no fucking telling.
I don't know who anybody is.
Yeah.
I don't understand technology that operates our daily lives.
Right.
I'm done here. I've done everything
could
there is
you
to
imagine being like somebody who went and fought in like World War II?
Yeah.
Like you watched the fall of Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Like you watched the Korean War and the Cold War, and you've seen the rise of the VCR and the fall of like DVD players, and you were there when like fucking Kennedy was assassinated.
Yeah.
Like all this
you saw
crazy
streaming
shit.
services come around.
Exactly. It's like, and you struggle with this the entire time. And then like you look on TV and like the celebrities, like it's just like this madness.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like living in a different universe.
Right. Just get me out of here.
It's a whole different group of people. So I kind of understand them when you ever like hear somebody who's that old who are like, I'm just done. There's nothing left here for me.
I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired.
Was it Sweden that'll euthanize you?
I think they do it in Canada too.
They do it in Canada as well. I mean, there's something to be said about that, right? Like if it's...
Well, did you know that is the leading cause of death right now in Canada?
What,
Assisted
suicide?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I don't know like what the stipulations are on that. I don't know. You can be like, Mom's sad. And just like, I don't think I want to live anymore. And then the doctor's like, well, we can fix that.
Yeah, I got something for you.
We're going to inject this black tar heroin into your neck.
Just OD you on heroin. Yeah,
Was it Futurama that had the suicide booths?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, my faith tells me that suicide is, it's wrong.
Right.
But at the same time, there's always that conflict of me, like, and the libertarian in me is like, well, it's my life. Like,
right.
I do what I want with it.
Right.
If I want to end it, I'll end it.
Right.
Especially if you're like, if you've got like all these different like health issues and like every waking moment is just constant, unbearable agony. Who am I to say?
Legitimate health issues.
Yeah. Who am I to say that person has to stay alive just because I, say that they do?
Well, and the more the more I think about it too, it's like the more I wonder, like, if there's so many, like, I guess, like, quote-unquote health issues or, like, especially, like, I'm not saying, like, mental health isn't a thing, but I think it obviously is. But maybe this, like, technology has made our lives so easy at this point.
Yeah.
Like, there's no strife. Like, there's no struggle. Like, there's no physical struggle. Like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to be able to eat.
Yeah.
Like, I have to go kill something to eat it.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have time to like
worry about whether or not you're sad.
Yeah, worry about whether or not you're sad.
Like you got to eat,
right? Because like if you sit there and pout all day long, when everybody gets back from the hunting trip, they're gonna beat you to death with sticks.
Yeah, because you didn't gather any berries.
Right. It's like we were talking about being like a caveman, and like you get a kidney stone. And you're like screaming in pain. And everybody beats you to death with sticks.
Yeah, so that the saber-toothed tiger doesn't figure out where your cave is. Shut him up. Shut him the fuck up.
Much simpler times.
Yeah. It's basically like if you were just, if it was a kidney stone like mine where you were just having that built-up back pressure, like, the only other outcome is that you piss out this rock. So you'd be like a cave.
God forbid somebody see that.
Yeah. You like be like a caveman. You wake up in the middle of the night to go take a piss. You walk outside the mouth of the cave and you lift up your loincloth and you go to pee, and it's dribbling at first, and you're like, what is this? And then all of a sudden a rock passes through your urethra, and you, whoa! And then a troop of chimpanzees just come down out of the trees. Neanderthals. Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to be said about, our lives that we live on the whole. There are people who do struggle greatly every day. But on the whole...
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, the average person is not going to have to worry about really much. Like, as long as you are, you probably have a job and you're living in some fashion.
Right.
A lot of people live outside their means, right? Spend more money than they make, this, that, and the other, and they struggle with that. But, like, if you're living even semi-comfortably, when your basic needs are met,
right,
the human condition is to struggle against something.
Right.
To overcome some form of adversity.
Right.
You start creating issues for yourself.
Right.
I think that's just the human condition to do that. So a lot of the problems that people face nowadays is a lot of stuff in their head.
Right.
And a lot of these society, does this to me.
Right.
There's always got to be some kind of outside antagonizing force in order to feel, and I guess in order to feel that your existence is justified.
Right. Especially, too, I think that's compounded when you, get groups of people in online communities as well. Because there's no, if you're face-to-face with, a lot of people, you can still, get into, this, mob mentality.
Yeah.
But there's still, some barrier to entry there.
Yeah.
Because, you are all face-to-face.
You're having to socialize.
You're having to socialize with these people. As opposed to being online where there's this anonymity to it.
All you are is a name.
Yeah, you're just a name and just this wall of text.
Yeah. And
you're just looking at your phone and typing text into this thing.
Yeah. A huge one right now is transgenderism. And I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist, so I can't say whether or not what these people are experiencing is the result of some kind of mental condition, or if they're experiencing, because, some kind of hormone imbalance, or, some physical, measurable, correctable thing. And a lot of what people are arguing against is whether or not there's anything to be corrected in the first place.
Right.
So if somebody has gender dysphoria, if you have a biological male who believes, quote unquote, believes that he's a female, is it, what's the course of action here? Do you allow them to believe that and let them have, gender affirming surgery, take hormones, all those things? Or do you say, okay, well, you are experiencing something known as gender dysphoria. Right. There's something wrong. There's some crossed wire. There's something wrong with you. And I think as a society, we want to make this kind of a cushy life for everybody.
Right.
And the easy thing to do is, instead of, attacking a problem head on and saying we've got to fix this, we would say, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have, you just have to live your life in a way that affirms how you feel.
Right.
And I kind of, I'm of two minds about it. I kind of agree both of those directions.
Right. I think that once you get to an age where you can make your own decisions and you're able to provide for yourself, I don't think anybody should have a say in what it is that you do. It's your life. You do whatever the fuck you want to do.
If you're 100% autonomous.
I do have an issue with, kids getting drugs to block hormones.
Yeah.
And kids getting gender reaffirming surgeries. That's where I do have a problem with it.
Yeah, I have an issue with that too, because, there's got to be a line in the sand somewhere.
Right.
Because there's going to be things that you're going to say, oh, well, a kid can't make an informed decision about this, but they can make an informed decision about that.
Right.
And, a kid can decide that he wants pizza for dinner.
Right.
But can a kid decide that she wants to have her ovaries removed?
Right.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So I would say that, you know, as a parent, if you are a parent of a child who is, you know, has gender dysphoria, believes that they are the other thing, I think that the most that you should do is allow them to live their life that way and just kind of see where it naturally goes,
right,
without pumping them full of hormones or making them do surgeries and
right,
stuff like that, because these are things that cannot be altered.
Right.
If you let your kid live a life in a way that affirms the way that they feel, the same thing is going to happen to that kid that happens to everybody. They're going to feel differently one day.
Right.
Because you are not the same person that you were when you were 6 years old.
No.
You're not the same person you were when you were 16 years old.
No, not the same person I was when I was 26 years old.
Yeah. You go through these seasons of life where you change.
Right.
Who you are as a person changes. So, you know, and I think the majority of the time what happens is, like, if you have a boy who believes that they're a girl that believes they're a boy, either way, they usually just end up being gay.
Right.
And that's totally normal. You don't have to have surgery to be gay.
Nope.
You don't have to pump yourself full of hormones to be gay. But if you know, there's several documented cases of, like, these people who will get these gender transition surgeries at a very young age, like teenagers.
Right.
And then very, very deeply regret that later on in life. And, of course, you know, I'm not saying that happens all the time, but a lot of time it does happen. So the choice to do these things has to be an extremely informed choice, and it needs to be made by the individual that it's being done to.
Right.
I mean, your brain isn't even fully developed until you're 25 anyway.
Right.
You know, based on our current medical knowledge.
Right.
So it's I don't believe in any world where you let a child decide to have their sex organs removed.
No, not at all.
I
can't be convinced.
That's insanity
otherwise.
to me.
Yeah, I can't be convinced otherwise.
If you have a child, if you came to me and you said, "Oh, you know, this is my son, but he believes that he's a girl, so we're just going to let him be a girl," but that's, you know, whatever. I mean, that's his life or her life or whatever. However they want to live it. And if you the parent, are making the choice, you know, what can I say about it? You know. But if you came up to me and you said, "This is my son, he believes he's a girl, we're going to have his testicles and penis inverted."
Yeah.
I'd be like,
yeah, you're going to scar that kid for life.
Like, you know,
there's a very high chance that what you're getting ready to do will not be helpful.
Yeah. So as far as, like, you know, I understand where these parents are coming from as far as, like, they want to affirm the way that their kid feels.
Right.
I get where you're coming from. I really do.
I think there's some of that, and I also think that there's some of this scoring brownie points on the internet deal.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of that going on too, where, like, people want to
virtue
signal to other people in the group.
Look how good I am.
Look how good I am, right? So they'll do, like, "Oh, we got my son or daughter gender reaffirming surgery," or they've started hormone blockers, or all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you really doing it for the kid, or are you doing it for you?
Yeah.
You know,
I definitely feel the majority of the time that it's done for the latter reason.
Right. Well, most of the time it's because there's, like, this like, the parent is putting themselves, like, look at what I'm doing. It's not so much like, if it was something that was for the kid, like, you, like, personally, like, I just wouldn't. I'd be like, we had it done. They feel better now. Like, if that's the way you wanted to go about it, right? If you didn't want to make it a big deal, just be like, we fixed the issue. I'm glad I was able to help you. Yeah. As opposed to, like, look at what I've done. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? This is, like, the whole trying to score brownie points the entire time. To me, that just screams, like, I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for for my kid.
It comes across as extremely insecure.
Right.
Extremely, extremely insecure. And that's a real big issue in that, you know, when you have endangered the health and well-being of your child.
Right.
In order to, you know, kind of suppress your insecurity.
Right.
I don't believe that, you know, there are people out there who are, you know, transgender, people who are gay, who still experience a lot of hatred for feeling the way that they feel and living the way that they do. And that ultimately is wrong.
Right.
You have no right to be hateful towards anyone.
No.
Especially if they're just living their life.
Right.
But I understand that people are concerned when they see the worst of these things. It's the same exact thing that we've talked about several times before. Like, shit smells worse than roses smell good.
Right.
So all the bad things is what you're going to notice first.
Right.
And that's just the human nature.
Right.
You are going to, you do it every day. If you go to buy something online, what do you look at?
Right.
The reviews. There could be 3,000 5-star reviews on this kitchen slicer
Where's
that I'm
the
looking
bad
at.
review?
I always sort by lowest first. I want to see what's wrong. I want to see the people who had terrible experiences because I want to see what's the worst possible thing that can happen. But, I don't think that hatred, is ever the answer to anything. Because hatred only ever breeds hatred. Throughout history. That's all it's ever done.
And unfortunately, I do believe that humans are sort of wired that way.
Yeah, we are. You definitely have got to fight your nature in order to do that.
Right.
In order to not be hateful.
And unfortunately, social media really, really amps that up.
It really does. A lot of it is just, you said, it's human nature. It probably comes from, the tribes.
Right.
When we all lived in tribes. You had a close-knit group of 25, 30 people. Yep. You all looked out for one another. And if you bumped into another tribe who was doing things differently than you, you were like, well, I don't trust you. I don't.
You hated them.
You hated them. And you went to war with them. And you all dressed up in, suits of armor and stabbed each other to death.
Right.
And then eventually we got airplanes. Shot each other to death with airplanes and dropped bombs. And it's just human nature.
Right.
But you have to fight your nature in order to not be hateful. I agree with that.
Right. I just think there's a lot going. I don't think, like, obviously, people use social media to sort of like figure out a lot of stuff, right? So they're using it to be like, where's a group of people that I identify with, right? So where's a group of people that have similar viewpoints as I do?
Feel the way I do.
Because I want to be, involved in this
and
accepted into this group.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is that a lot of introverted people end up getting caught up in social media.
Yeah.
And I think social media is a breeding ground for mental health issues.
Oh, yes.
So
I agree completely with that, yeah.
So I think the longer you spend like unmitigated time inside of social media, like the worse it's going to be for you.
Yeah. Well, you're naturally going to curate everything that you see to coincide with the way that you feel about things.
Right.
And every single algorithm is set up that way so that they can show you more ads.
Right. Well, they're trying to keep you involved with the app as long as possible.
They want to keep showing you things that you want to see.
Right.
And even if they didn't do that, you would still go out of your way to see the things you want to see.
Right. It's like, I'm not going to go see a movie I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see a movie I want to see.
Exactly. I'm not going to go watch a TV show that I hate.
Right.
When the one that I like is playing.
Right. It's like, I'm not going to go watch The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah. And I would much rather watch the Super Bowl. Like,
I want to go to dinner. I would love to have a steak, so I am going to go to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And then complain that I didn't get my steak.
Exactly. Like, so it's sort of like it's a vicious cycle.
It is. I mean, the internet and social media, well, social media more than the internet, really, let's call it what it is. Social media is the number one issue.
Right.
Nobody was ever trained on how to be a part of it.
No.
Nobody ever, got a briefing on what to do.
It just kind of appeared.
The do's and don'ts social media. I mean, even within the last year or so, I've started seeing on Facebook, YouTube, things like that. It's like, do you know how to spot misinformation?
Right.
Do you know when you're being, radicalized?
Right.
So they're only just now taking steps against this stuff. And we're 20 years into this thing.
Right.
When social media came about, we just kind of figured it. Everybody else just kind of figured it out together.
Right.
And it was not a collaborative effort.
No.
It was.
Everybody was in their own silos doing their own thing.
It was the whole entire world doing their own thing,
Right.
and now it's just a giant mishmash hatred machine. But in order for there to be guidance, there has to be a leader.
Right.
There has to be one person or one entity that says what you can and cannot do. But then there's a moral imbalance there.
Right.
Why are you the one who says what we can and cannot
Right.
do?
Because I'm immediately not going to trust you.
Yeah, exactly. So is there an answer to it?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I think the best that you can do is try to be introspective and try to, really read into the things that you're seeing.
Right.
The moment that you feel a way about something, the moment that you read something and it makes you feel a way,
Right.
take a step back and say, why do I feel that way
Right.
about what I just read?
Most of the time, like if I read something and it makes you like upset or mad or something like that, I just go, man, let's back out.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to interact with this.
Yeah.
Like I'll just back out of it. It's not worth my time.
Yeah.
Either that or it gets a ha-ha react.
Yeah. I remember they wanted to take away the ha-ha reacts because they were like, this is online bullying. But yeah, you have to take a very active approach, right? It requires effort on your part.
No.
And as we have observed several times throughout human history, people are not generally going to take the effort to do the right thing.
No.
All the good stuff in life and all the right thing to do is usually the hardest thing.
Right.
And
Most of the good things that will ever happen to you in your life involve your close friends and
Yeah.
your family, and that's about it.
Yeah. Everything else you got to work really hard for.
Right. Most of the good things that happen will not happen on social media.
No, most of the bad things.
Most of the bad things will happen on social media.
The majority of the bad things happen there. Well, before we run out of time, we do have a correction to read.
Okay, let's go for it.
So this one, again, comes from Avery. I think on one of the previous episodes, we were trying to figure out which animal it was that carried an STD.
Oh, yeah.
The animal that carries an STD is a koala.
Oh, that's right. They carry
the clap.
Oh, okay.
Also known as gonorrhea. Additionally, chickenpox is herpes, and to get shingles, you had to have already gotten chickenpox.
Right.
So here's the soundbite.
We're sorry.
There you go. Thank you, Avery, for keeping us in check.
Wasn't there who was the gangster back in like the 20s? Like the real famous one. Al Capone.
Al Capone?
Didn't he have gonorrhea? No, he had syphilis. And it rotted his brain away.
Yeah, syphilis was real big
really
issue
bad.
back then. Yeah. There was a while there, too, I'm pretty sure that, like, airline pilots had syphilis a lot.
I remember that.
It was like an issue with them.
Right. It was like, that was like a thing that was told around the water cooler. I'm like, did you hear? all the airline pilots have syphilis. You imagine being like an airline pilot.
Like trying to go on a date.
Yeah. Or like you come home to like your wife and she's like, you have syphilis.
He's like, I do? I didn't know.
I heard it from Karen at work. All the pilots have it. I'm like, well, then you would have it too. So.
Like, this is why women aren't supposed to work. Did you ever see that picture of the original Battleship?
Oh yeah, with was it like a wife
box.
and the daughter standing at the kitchen sink like washing
dishes, and like the son and the husband are playing a board game.
Times were different back then.
Yes, they were. They weren't necessarily better. They were just different.
They were certainly different.
Well, I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. As always, thank you so much for listening. I hope that we had an enjoyable conversation for everyone to listen to and be a part of. If you guys would like to reach out to us, make sure you contact us on the Facebook page, or you can email us at thickboypodcast@gmail.com. If you said anything wrong or anything that offended you, make sure you let us know, and we'll read it out on our segment called I'm Sorry. Do you have anything? you'd like to close with?
Nope. That's just the usual. Just thank you for your continued support. Thank you for continuing to listen to us. Always remember, if you enjoyed the podcast, leave us a like, a rating, or review on your favorite platform. And just thank you so much for the continued support.
Awesome. Well, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everybody.